Hi, this is Aaron Wilson. The Texans have had a draft, they've had free agency, and they've had undrafted free agency. So I want to talk about the depth chart, starting with the offense and kind of resetting where the team stands, where they go from here, kind of what I think is probable about how they'll line up this fall. So we'll start with kind of the obvious, but since we're going through the offense, we're going to discuss the quarterback position. And C.J. Stroud, entrenched QB1, former Pro Bowl selection, former NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. And what I see from C.J. is an ability to ad-lib when he needs to, be a pocket passer, and be an accurate thrower of the football. And I look for him to cut down the interceptions that he had from last season and have more autonomy. Nick Caley has said that there will be more freedom for C.J. Stroud to have greater ownership of the offense. And this is C.J. talking. This isn't just Nick Caley. So they're on the same page, of the same accord, which is that for the Texans to take this next step as an offense, it needs to be C.J. Stroud's offense. And that's what they want to see, him put his personal imprint on the offense and go forward with a really strong third season. And this will set the table, I believe, for a great contract for C.J. We'll see what the valuation comes in. And a lot of that obviously will be determined by how he performs this year. What do we see from C.J. and what steps does he take forward in his development? Remember, he's still a very young player, 23 years old, and just so much great football in front of him. So for him to become the top 5 quarterback that I believe he has the potential to be, things he needs to do, really getting rid of the football, avoiding sacks, obviously getting better pass protection, working in concert with the offensive line, and with Cole Popovich, the new offensive line coach and run game coordinator, to change protections and just being adaptable and having great, internal clock and field vision and, getting the football out to his playmakers, Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, and we'll get into the receiving core with Jaden Higgins and all of that. But yeah, I just want to start off with CJ because it's no more important position in football than quarterback. And they've got a really good quarterback in C.J. Stroud. Becoming a great quarterback, that's where, it's the fine line between the details and where he was as a second-year quarterback, where he regressed a little bit. Some of that is attributable to the offensive line, which we talked about ad nauseum, substandard pass protection, poor play calling, a lack of ability to adapt by Bobby Slowick wound up costing him his job, and bringing in Nick Caley with his background from Los Angeles Rams with Sean McVay, and the New England Patriots with Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels. So he's got his own stamp of things. I've been able to talk to some former colleagues of his, and Sean McVay included, and also University of Minnesota offensive line coach and run game coordinator Brian Callahan. He worked with him at Akron and Eastern Illinois, and he says, Nick Caley is going to be great. So everybody's all so far very bullish about Nick Caley, the energy he brings. So backup quarterback, still Davis Mills. Davis is under contract for this year for about $5 million, and they feel good about Davis and his ability to step in if something happens to CJ. They have 2 other quarterbacks on the roster. They drafted Graham Mertz in the 6th round. He was able to, despite the torn ACL from last season, move around pretty well, albeit with a big brace at the rookie minicamp. And he threw some good footballs, has some zip on his throws. As you know, very accurate passer. They did throw short a lot for the Florida Gators, but yeah, I saw some good things from him. Then Keaton Slovis, and Keaton has played at USC, he's played at Pitt, and I see him and Graham competing. We'll see if Graham is on injured reserve. This may be something of a medical redshirt year for him. And so that's kind of where they stand right now with the quarterback position. Moving on to running back, and this is another strong position. It's a good backfield, with C.J. Stroud handing the football off to Pro Bowl running back Joe Mixon. Joe was impactful. You see in the background, that's not by coincidence, if you can see that far. That are highlights from the Texans game against the Dallas Cowboys. One of Joe Mixon's better football games, dominant as far as breakaway runs and trucking guys. And I thought that Joe really added a tough element, a smash mouth, downhill, hard-nosed running back that loves contact. Although he's a bit of an upright runner, he lowers his pads, runs behind his pads, good body lean, catches the ball well, has a lot of credibility, team captain. We're stepping in for Stephon Diggs. And to me, Joe was a leader when he wasn't a captain. He was always a leader. and he was good with us, with the media. That's not obviously the most important part of his job, but he was a good team spokesman, and it may have surprised some people from Cincinnati that maybe didn't have a great relationship with him, but we had a very good relationship with Joe Mixon, and I voted for him and actually designed the trophy he got as Media Good Guy Award winner, and he really deserved that. Back to football and how he played, he, even when they didn't block for him, like the Detroit game, he would just hold on to the football and make sure that he didn't have any issues with ball security. So he was excellent in that area. And he's got good wiggle. He's got cutback ability. And, he's a running back. Obviously, he has some tread off the tires, but they don't really need to spell it much. He likes to stay on the field. He's really, really good. They needed someone to compliment him, so they drafted Woody Marks. Joquavius is his real name, but they call him Woody because he's a big fan of the movie Toy Story from his childhood. And he was a great pass-catching back, swing back, out of the backfield for the USC Trojans. And before that, the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Transferred to USC, wanted to play in a different type of offense. Obviously, good NIL money, too, in Los Angeles. And I think Woody is for the fourth round where they picked him, they did make a trade. That kind of says to me a lot about how they feel about Woody, and to trade a third-round pick next year for him. So it's a good pickup to get him. And I watched him at the rookie minicamp. Seems to move well. He is a little shorter than I thought he'd be. He's just a well-built, stocky running back. And I think he can deliver the boom. He can be a guy that can run through some tackles, make plays, and be that pass-catching third-down back. Maybe he plays a little more than they used Dameon Pierce. I still think Dameon makes the team as a kickoff returner and a spot back here and there. Dario Ogunbowale is back, and that's for special teams, so I see him being around as well. Fullback, I'm pretty confident that Jacob Johnson, who was Nick Haley's player when he coached the tight ends and the fullbacks with the New England Patriots, coaching Rob Gronkowski, that he will emerge as the fullback. British Brooks is making a sound recovery from a knee injury that required surgery last season, so we'll see what happens. But I think they'll compete, but I think Johnson would have the inside track and a bigger fullback and a good blocking fullback at 6'3", 250 pounds. So tight end was, to me, a bit of a disappointing position last year. Dalton Schultz had a down year as a blocker and pass catcher, dropped too many passes. Worst game he played was the last game, how he played against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I didn't think that he played particularly well in that game. Gave up 3 sacks, had trouble with their edge rushers, and just didn't really play like a guy that's under a 3-year, $36 million contract. Contract's fully guaranteed. Not much you can do about that because you've got to have him on the roster. He's got to be a starter. And then Cade Stover had some tough luck. He had an emergency appendectomy, very tough, came back from that gritty guy. Grew up on a farm. We talked a little bit about that, his toughness. Ohio State weightlifting guy, former defensive player. Showed promise as a lead blocker. Some pass-catching skills, too. Brevin Jordan, unfortunately, tore his ACL against the Chicago Bears. He's more of an H-back type, dynamic, after the catch, very fast. Remember the Cleveland Browns, how fast he was running in terms of miles per hour in that playoff game 2 seasons ago. So you look at Brevin, and Brevin's healthy. I think he's in the mix to make the team again. They have Irv Smith Jr., who did a good job in the one game. He had to play a lot, the Miami game, as a blocking tight end. So whether they keep 4 tight ends, we'll see. What's the flexibility like there? They also have Luke Lachey added to the mix, 6'6", 251. A lot of people asked me about Mason Tharp. I did answer in one of the questions. The 6'8", 264-pound undrafted rookie from Texas Tech. So Mason is not going to be signed at this time. Had a good tryout. We'll see if they revisit it. But, yeah, no deal at this time for Mason Tharp or any undrafted drafted player at all. Moving on to wide receiver, and this is a really interesting group because it's definitely got a lot of change. Of course, you have the constant, the Pro Bowl wide receiver, Nico Collins. He can go up and get it. He can run away from you. He can run through you. Really almost unstoppable weapon downfield at 6'4", 222, a 4.4 speed. and he's outstanding as far as a dangerous deep threat. He can do intermediate stuff. He will block. He is bigger than every defensive back in the NFL at 6'4", 222, and plays even bigger than that. I had a chance to talk to Nico over the weekend at his annual youth football camp. He's got a great mindset. He is very excited to work with some other playmakers, the draft picks, the rookies, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel. So it's going to be exciting to watch all those guys along with Christian Kirk. So top 4 receivers, talking about depth chart, I would say wide receiver 1, Nico Collins, slot receiver number 1, Christian Kirk, Jaden Higgins, one of the top 3 receivers. So Kirk is coming off of injury plagues 2 seasons, so they've got some insurance with Jalen Noel to put him in the lineup in case Kirk is unavailable. Right now, Kirk is 100% healthy, I'm told, and he's looking good in the weight room, and I think that he will be a good safety valve for C.J. Stroud to throw to. Higgins, we talked about this in a separate video, just really impressed me with his wingspan, his height, the way he moves. He moves just as well as Jalen Noel, and he's got really good sound hands. I thought he looked great at the rookie camp. I don't put a lot of importance in the rookie camp, but I do make impressions, and this is what I thought of him in that rookie camp. Jalen Noel will earn his keep as a punt returner. I see him fitting in that role and also playing a lot at wide receiver, and he's added an element of speed. 4.39, 42-inch vertical. You throw it to him, he can take it to the house, and he can catch it short and go long, but he can also go deep. He does a lot of nice things. He's an interesting player, Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Year. You've got a roster battle where Xavier Hutchinson, like Higgins and all, former Iowa State guy, made some plays in that playoff game, the Chargers game, helped them win that game, and they like what they've seen from him. He is in the mix to make the team again. So is Justin Watson, newcomer, Kansas City Chiefs. A big, fast receiver at 6'2", 215, 4.4 speed, former Ivy Leaguer. Good hands, good routes. I see him on special teams. I think he's got a very good chance to make the squad. And then John Mechie III, he's competing to earn a job again. Nothing promised to John. I don't pencil him in as a lock right now to make the team. So we'll see what happens with him. We've talked a lot about Tank Dell, but I think it's always worth reinforcing. There's a very good chance that Tank doesn't play this year. I think he's going to make it interesting with the progress I'm told he's made in terms of being able to push sleds, in terms of being able to jump a little bit. He has made a lot of progress. He's had 2 successful surgeries, a reconstruction of his ACL done by Dr. Walter Lowe, and he also did the surgery to repair his MCL and LCL, medial collateral ligament, lateral collateral ligament, and of course he dislocated his knee, and they put that back in place. Did not have the meniscus damage the extent that they thought he did, which is one of the reasons why it's medically possible. It just doesn't make any sense for him to play this year. So my expectation is he will miss the entire season, and that is not new or groundbreaking. But one thing I am hearing that is a little bit new is that he could make it interesting and he could push for a late season potential return. I don't think they're going to entertain doing that. I think they're going to take the approach of, it doesn't make sense. We've got enough receivers. We don't need to do that. Why would you risk that? So obviously that's a subjective decision medically on whether they let him play. Braxton Berrios, former All-Pro returner. Don't see him playing a lot of receiver, but I think on special teams he'll be an ace. I think he'll help them a lot. Very shifty, reliable return man. And he's under a small contract. They don't have to have him, but I think he will be here. And it's a tough. We're talking about the practice squad probably now, where we're talking about Jared Wayne, who unfortunately, accidentally hurt Tank Dell on that play in Kansas City at Arrowhead Stadium in December. And then Daniel Jackson, a good undrafted free agent from Minnesota, maybe some new blood. Johnny Johnson III and Xavier Johnson, they made the team on the practice squad last year. Maybe they're back again, but they're competing, and you can only have so many guys on the practice squad. They like to have a lot of them, but of course for practice, to give the defense a look, but we'll see how that goes. So, we're talking about backup positions. And now, the most anticipated position on the roster, offensive line. So Cole Popovich takes over, one voice, as they say, run game coordinator, offensive line coach, promoted from assistant line coach. Chris Strausser out, along with Bobby Slowick. So at left tackle, Cam Robinson is first string. And I think he's going to be first string unless he has an injury. He's had some injuries in the past. They're paying him $14.5 million max for the year. They have Arante Ursary to back him up. He can also be a right tackle. I don't think they're going to play him at guard. Robinson, is someone that is only under contract for this year, so they have to make a decision whether they're going to, plug him in right now and then see how it goes. Do you want to have him for the long term, or is he more of a one-year guy? Right now, he feels like kind of a stopgap one-year guy, and he can play. He had some good football. He played some good snaps for Minnesota. Heard good things about him from their coaching staff. So looking over at Ursary at the minicamp towered over everybody. Big guy, moves very well, very confident, very comfortable. I feel like the performance against Abdul Carter is emblematic of the kind of blocker he is. He can more than hold his own against speed rushes, and he can deal with power. He's the Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year. He's got a very bright future, 6'6", 331, 5.01 speed in the 40-yard dash, and he is the left tackle of the future. Maybe that future happens sooner than later. We'll see how that goes. They have some backups like Austin Deculus and Zach Thomas. They're all fighting for roster spots. Deculus, of course, is from Cy-Fair High School and LSU. And Zach Thomas, he was on the team last year after they claimed him off waivers from the Patriots. So he could be on the mix again for a spot, but not for a starting job, in my opinion. Titus Howard right now, I've got him penciled as the left guard. I think that they've been offering hints all offseason. He's the left guard. He could also be the right tackle, but I think he's their best option at left guard. Best even ahead of Laken Tomlinson, a former Pro Bowler that has started every game for the past several seasons, but is definitely toward the end of his career. Be a great backup in my opinion. But yeah, Titus Howard, is one of the most experienced linemen on the team, and I thought he played solidly at left guard. They've already given him the bonus by restructuring his contract, and this is the final year of his deal. They've got void years after that for cap purposes, but I think it's likely that Titus will wind up as left guard. So then looking over at center, Jared Patterson, end of the year as a starter, solidified the position, good communication skills, good technique, Notre Dame guy, plays a little high. I think I'm hearing that in the offseason he's got a little stronger, put a little bigger in the weight room, needed to, add a little bit of bulk strength, and that's sometimes with power, bigger nose tackles can push him back a little bit in the line of scrimmage and into the backfield. So, he knows he has to be stouter. He does everything right. The guy works very hard, really commendable as far as the kind of football character, personal character he has, and just a guy with some blocking skills. An underrated player, not a great player. I've seen comments like ripping him and that sort of thing. For where he got drafted in the 6th round, that was solid drafting. That was pretty good. And you have Eli Cox, who's a potential, backup practice squad guy. Jake Andrews is going to push for the job. Jake is a former Patriot, played for Cole Popovich at the Troy University, so where he was a big-time lineman for them, all Gulf South, and some All-American mention at that level. But 4th-round pick, and just hadn't clicked for him, had some injuries with the New England Patriots. But yeah, I see him getting a long look, and I see him competing and making the team, even if he doesn't wind up starting. So we'll see. But I think he's going to push for the center job. They're going to compete. This is going to be a true competition between Patterson and Andrews. Right guard, Juice Scruggs is the front runner, former 2nd-round pick. I thought he looked better at guard than at center. At center, I just feel like he was a little overwhelmed. The Green Bay game was a significant, troubling game for him. How he played at center, just didn't communicate well, didn't pick up line stunts and blitzes very well. Eric Wilson from the Packers, no relation, but Wilson, he played very well. Had just constant penetration, shooting the A and B gaps to get through to C.J. Stroud. So that was one of the reasons they lost that game, was because of a lack of pass protection. Ed Ingram, like Juice Scruggs, a player that was drafted in the 2nd round, didn't really live up to the expectations and the draft status, but every now and then for Minnesota he would show flashes. He showed a nasty streak. He'd knock some guys down. I see him as the backup. They, of course, released Nick Broker over the weekend, decent reserve lineman. Been a lot of praise for Ladarius Henderson for the way he's restructured his body, missed his entire rookie year due to a foot injury, and now he's back and looking good, and he's got a chance to push for a potential roster spot. Going over to right tackle, and this is where I think it's really interesting. Blake Fischer is the incumbent starter, second-round pick last year from Notre Dame. I didn't think he looked that great in the playoffs, especially the Chiefs game against Chris Jones. He had his struggles, allowed 3 sacks. We'll see how much improvement he makes. Needs to make a big quantum leap in improvement because there is real competition. They can plug in Titus Howard over there. They can plug in 6'8", 380-pound former Pro Bowl lineman Trent Brown. When Trent gets fully healthy, they can get him into the lineup. I think that if they don't have things work out with Fischer, they can move Ursery over there. And if you're just talking about getting your best 5, and a lot of people ask me, well, what's the best 5? To me, the best 5 would probably be Cam Robinson at left tackle, Titus Howard at left guard. I think Jared Patterson at center. At right guard, Juice Scruggs, and at right tackle, Ariante Ursery. I think that's the most talented 5. Whether that's the best 5 in terms of chemistry remains to be seen. But that's how I see the offensive depth chart right now at a later stage of the offseason where we're about to head into the organized team activities and then later a full team minicamp and then training camp in late July. We're going to have the schedule released this week. I'll be on Sports Sunday tonight with Randy McElboy discussing the rookie minicamp. And, of course, I'll have some other content. I've got one tomorrow that I want to tease a little bit, an interview with Will Anderson Jr., so we'll definitely get that up here on the stream. And, yeah, I appreciate you guys liking and subscribing. I've seen a lot of new subscribers and appreciate making this a fast-growing channel. We're up to over 6,700 subscribers. Hope to get to 7,000 soon. The real new benchmark I want is 10,000. I've been wanting that for a while. We're working on it, and I'm making improvements. As you guys see, I've got a microphone. Had a little far away at the beginning of this video. I appreciate you guys bearing with me. Sometimes I forget to do that, to move the microphone. And I've got a whole setup here, being very transparent. I've got my laptop here, because I like to refer to my notes occasionally, because I do not have a photographic memory, but I remember a lot of things off the top of my head. So that's my take on the depth chart. Please like and subscribe. Also, watch me on KPRC2 and www.click2houston.com. And all that is, of course, free of charge, as is this channel. And look for more content coming soon. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.